Hi, this is Ted. I'm going to be showing you an expert talking to you about William Nolan, who wrote a book back in 1974 about Kathryn Kuhlman crusade. He talked to doctors and people who were on her stage, 27 of them from one night. And he wrote a chapter in his book, A Doctor in Search of a Miracle. And he wrote a chapter dealing with this. And I'll let you listen to the expert from 4 years ago.
To begin with, William Nolan. And this is a study that I put a lot of stock into, but there are limitations to this study, which I will shortly tell you about. But what he did is he got like the names of 70 some different people from Kathryn Kuhlman from one crusade. And the strength of this study is these were not chosen for him. They were given to him by the entire group of people in one crusade, claiming to be healed up front. And he sent out letters, called them up, and he was able to talk to 27, I believe, of those people and follow up with them. And what he found was none of them were truly cured. He found that there was actually one person who was damaged more because she was dancing around on stage with her brace off and her back literally collapsed shortly thereafter. So what you see on stage, don't buy wholeheartedly. I don't care who it is, Benny Hinn or your favorite healer, even Kathryn Kuhlman. I know some of you just love Kathryn Kuhlman.
All right, here's a story. After Dr. Nolan wrote his book, as I mentioned in my last video, Dr. Casdorph is very upset with this because he believes he has seen miracles on stage, one after another with Kathryn Kuhlman. And so he gets over to Kathryn Kuhlman, he talks to her, says, I can help you out. I need a list of miracles that from you that I should pursue. And so she gives him some. And this particular one must have been very near and dear to her because you'll see there's some issues with it, a lot of issues. But he puts it in his book and he tries to make it sound very doctor-like, very medical science-like. And we're going to see what comes out of this. Okay, first of all, let me explain to you the story. Dr. Casdorph writes a book to counter William Nolan's, which found no miracle among 24 cases, 27. Actually, one may have been ruined. Well, she may have ruined her back on stage, trampling around. By the next day, her back collapsed because she took off her brace, because Kathryn Kuhlman told her to. All right, so Kathryn Kuhlman wants him to write this next one that I'm going to be talking about because she sees this as a genuine miracle that is undeniable. Oh, you know, people are just going to be blown away in this. And yes, her followers were blown away in their seats. All right. It's basically the first section of this chapter. He goes through 10 of such miracles. And I've already talked about one miracle. And this one, I also got myself some help with Grok, which is AI. And also I think I just limited myself to Grok on this one. All right. So Elfrieda, that's her name, Elfrieda Stauffer, and she has chronic rheumatoid arthritis. A lot of people on stage in Kathryn Kuhlman or other faith healers will have rheumatoid arthritis being healed. What's the story? Bottom line, placebos work tremendously well with pain for a lot of people. Not everybody. Everybody's different in this. That's why healing is a little bit different. That's why some will be healed, some won't, because the placebo works wonders. And for most people, it's extremely temporary for an hour or two, but that's all you need if you're Kathryn Kuhlman. You just need them to be feeling great for an hour or two. The other issue with placebos is it takes away the symptoms for that temporary period, but it will not take away the disease. In other words, if I have rheumatoid arthritis and it's ruining my bones are still getting ruined and they're still bad, but because my pain went away, I can do things that I've never been able to do, swing my arms around, jump on stage, show people my back is just great. Well, you're ruining your back doing that. But because of the placebo effect, you're not going to feel it, at least not for that temporary moment. And sometimes that temporary moment can last a long time, as we will see with Elfrieda. Now, the author met with Elfrieda and her husband, and he obtained medical records from her and presented her case at the Shrine Auditorium service in November of 1974, which was 10 months after the healing. And he confirmed her diagnosis as well as her current wellness. Now, Kathryn Kuhlman asks Casdorph to come in and do the same thing for television, but by this time he feels uneasy. He doesn't want to go on television pronouncing this. He's willing to go upstage and do it, but he doesn't want to on TV. And the reason he gives, he basically gives himself a lot of trouble in this particular case. And one of them is he says 9 months, the 9 months which she was at the worst just before she came to Kathryn Kuhlman, she was going to a Mexican doctor down in Mexico. And there are no records that he can get a hold of for this. And so he feels uneasy and he refuses to do the TV show, and he doesn't do the TV show. But Kathryn Kuhlman's okay with that. And later on, he will do the book. But there's another reason he's presenting. He's actually presenting, I think, some of his doubts, but more as a fact, a medical fact. And he's going to use this and twist it to show you that a healing really did take place. We'll get into that. He defines rheumatoid arthritis, lets you know what it is so that you as the reader know, oh, it's that bone disease or stuff that goes on, or swelling that takes place in those joints and stuff like that, because it's just going bad in those bones that are connecting to each other. And he also explains spontaneous remission. Spontaneous remission happens when somebody spontaneously feels better, gets better. But it usually takes days, and it doesn't happen just right then and there. And so that's what he's going to focus on, how he knows that she was healed and it wasn't spontaneous remission. It's because it happened immediately. Well, he doesn't take in consideration that a placebo effect happens immediately. Those people out in the audience, when Benny Hinn or Kathryn Kuhlman get up and say, somebody out there, this is the shotgun approach, somebody out there has rheumatoid arthritis, and you're getting healed right now, or she might just even be more general. You got to keep a little general because you don't want to be too specific. But, just say out these general shotgun things, and somebody out there will instantaneously feel right then and there. How do I know this? I have experienced this. Okay, somebody out there, this is Young-gi Cho, pastor of the largest church in the world, Seoul, Korea, came to visit our college and spoke. Somebody out there has sinus issues. Oh no, I know it's me. And you know what I mean? It's why am I saying oh no? Because I had been on Kathryn Kuhlman's stage not getting healed. And I don't want to go through the struggles I went through, because back then I didn't know enough about the placebo effect. I didn't know enough about how this works on stage. As far as I could tell, everybody's being healed up there. It wasn't until years later when I began digging into all this that I realized they're not getting healed up there at all. And there's no follow-up, because follow-up just says they weren't healed, like Dr. Nolan says. All right, they were temporarily relieved of pain, and I was temporarily relieved because he said several things. Young-gi Cho, he said, and right now you're feeling something in your face. Sure enough, second he says that, I can feel my face going all tingly and stuff. It's me. I don't want it to be. And so I raised my hand, and all my friends are going, yay, we know you have problems. Yay. And so, for an hour, I have hope. I really do. I have hope that, I hope it doesn't go away. It goes away in 1 hour, almost exactly. All my sinuses just flood back in. It just really gets bad again. No. And it took me years before I realized this is classic case of placebo effect. All right, moving on. So this author doesn't realize, and he seems to be clueless about the placebo effect. Now, talking to Grok, it presents and gives me several articles. I think I also had, when I want to do research the best, I go to perplexity.com because it gives me all the sources. I don't have to ask for it. It just automatically gives me up to 10, 20 sources for the free version, and more for if I pay more. But so, I can double check just to make sure this is legit. But back in 1974, when all this is taking place, all the way through the 70s, it was not common for doctors to hold on to believing anything about the placebo effect. Yeah, it was there. Little few people knew about it. They might say psychosomatic or something, use those terms. But as far as the placebo effect, they knew very little. And Casdorph, no doubt, knows. Well, he doesn't say a word about the placebo effect. And I believe it's because he's rejecting it, as a lot of doctors, probably most of them back then, did reject it. It wasn't until the 2000s when we could do brain scans and all kinds of new medical science that they really began realizing this is a real phenomenon. And it doesn't just happen to people who are clueless or people who are weak. It happens to the most brilliant people. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it does happen. It also explains why somebody like Kathryn Kuhlman will say, I don't know why some get healed and some don't. Well, first of all, the vast majority of what she's looking at and seeing, they're not getting healed. They're just experiencing a placebo response because of all the stuff going on stage, the preparation, the excitement, the testimonies, all that kind of stuff just builds up all kinds of endorphins and dopamine and everything else our brain needs to send out the signals that say, pain, go away, and send out those signals that say, you feel something funny in your face. All right, that stuff all happens. All right, so author defines rheumatoid arthritis as spontaneous remission. Spontaneous remission does not happen right away. I've talked about that. If Elfrieda's instant relief of pain is to him the sign, he doesn't really come out with anything else. He can't talk about before, the 9 months before when she was at her worst, because he doesn't have the records. And he doesn't say anything about records after that. So evidently he's taking her word for it, which is a no-no. What if she is a name it and claim it person? Yeah, I am healed. God told me, what if she's holding on to name it and claim it? What if she just likes to say things? Plus, add this to it. When she was in Mexico getting this healing, she had 3 or 4 months of relief from medicine that doctor gave her. But then all of a sudden everything came back. So just the fact that she could have a 3 to 4 month period where she has not got pain, and at the same time, she was not cured. The bones did not just heal up. They were still going back, bad direction, but the pain had gone because of the medicine he gave her. This, and by the way, medicine is a great placebo responder giver. Don't repeat that. But it's great for this because the more you do for somebody, if you do acupuncture, it's more effective as a placebo response because you're doing something with the body, you're touching, you're doing stuff. And all these things, taking pills is and certain colored pills actually respond better. There's all kinds of information. Just check it out. Dig into it, because if you want to understand what's going on stage, you're going to have to understand placebo effect. And before you go saying it's a miracle, double check to see if this could be done with a placebo effect. And pay attention to records before and after. People make up stories. People name it, claim it. There's all kinds of stuff. Testimonies are not good evidence. All right, in most cases, in the 9 months leading, unless it's my testimony, seriously, because I trust myself, I can pull apart and say, all right, that's definitely was placebo. This, I think, was a miracle, but I'm not 100% sure. It could be either way. So I examine things like that about myself as well. So after the months, those 3 or 4 months, her pain returns. And the fact that she was relieved of pain for that period of time tells me she is prime for long-term placebo effect. All right, I've watched hundreds of videos of healing videos, hundreds of them, of Kathryn Kuhlman, Benny Hinn, and others. You're healed, you're healed, you're healed. I find nothing reporting in anywhere, shape, or form. I've actually read a couple of articles by Benny Hinn defending why he doesn't follow up. In one case, he says he has to get them out too quickly to the audience because they need to hear these testimonies. In the other case, he says they started following up, but people would get mad at them for calling them. And I'm thinking, he doesn't explain why they get mad at him. I think I know why. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to go there because even people who don't get healed, or, when the pain comes back, they will generally still think, oh, I must have done something wrong because Benny Hinn is a man of God. So it's a very weird response he had. Anyway, but through all my studies and digging into all these things, I did find that pain is the number one relief that placebos can take care of. Much less would be something like my sinuses being cleared up for that 1 hour. And there's other things also that placebos can respond with. But what they cannot respond with, if you're 100% blind, 100% deaf, if you got an injury like a broken leg, it's not going to just heal up your leg. That would take a miracle. Elfrieda was escorted to stage when she felt the miracle happening. And she did physical things she had never been able to do before. Well, duh. That's what these things are all about. The fact of the matter is your placebo takes effect and your pain is gone. You can do a lot of things you've not been able to do before. And that is what you want to show the audience if you're Kathryn Kuhlman or Benny Hinn. She always has the wheelchair come up. I told you about that last time. The wheelchair comes up. Why? Because that's the prop the audience needs to see. They will not see your bone structure healing up. They won't see that. And neither will the x-rays. What you will see is somebody who's happy, excited, feeling like and believing with all their heart they've been healed by God. What you won't see is the days later when all the pain returns. And they believe that it was their fault. Kathryn Kuhlman, she healed me. God's power did through that. The fact that I don't have it anymore, it's my fault. I didn't have enough faith. Bad doctrine. Bad. All right. In the post-service, Cliff noted her facial swelling. Oh, her husband noticed after the service dinner that night, her face, the swelling went down. He could see dimples for the first time in a long time. Well, what's not mentioned, and Casdorph should have known this, the typical medicine you used back there did create swelling. And plus, it's really rare that a face would swell from knuckles and elbows and different parts of the bone structure having problems with this pain. So the swelling face is really weird. I'm surprised he even included that. In all likelihood, she stopped taking her medicine because she believed she was healed. A conclusion for all this is this doctor, I think this might be, I would hope for the sake of him, that this is the worst of all his studies. I don't think most of you people reading this will catch that because most of your people at a Kathryn Kuhlman crusade or Benny Hinn or anybody at the other faith healer, they're not thinking in terms of rational, could this be done through a placebo effect? And back then, placebos were unheard of most of the time. So what is going on here is the God of the gaps. You bring God into those areas you don't understand. And before I move on, I do believe in miracles. I just haven't seen any from Kathryn Kuhlman or any from Benny Hinn. All the research I've been doing, that I try to get the follow-ups, and these people who have the big crusades where they claim they have healing all over the place, don't buy it. Not unless you can go with your friend who's just been healed, go to the doctor and see the evidence. And that's all I'm going to be saying for right now. I've got 8 more chapters. The next chapter looks very impressive, like Casdorph might have something. I've never said there's no miracles going on in here. I'm just saying the vast majority, if there are any miracles, they're being covered up by a whole huge pile of trash. And this is Ted. By the way, subscribe to me, follow me, and comment. I'll try to answer a lot of your comments from now on. So we'll see you around. This is Ted. Bye.